Well, mental illness has impacted my life since I was probably about 10. Just because that's when I definitely started showing signs of probably depression. It's kind of hard to tell because I never saw anyone for that until I was about 14 or 15. But I tried to kill myself when I was 10, and that's not considered healthy for good reasons. So it's had a huge impact on my life. I mean, who I am as a person, who I turned into, how I developed, how I socialize, because it's been with me for so long. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 2, I think last year. That was interesting because of the level of stigma surrounding that particular disorder. I'd seen a lot of people who had suggested I could be bipolar, and trying to talk to my family about it was like trying to talk to a wall that yells at you. And I love my parents, and I don't say that with really hard feelings towards them, because I know that they reacted the way they did because they love me, but it wasn't helpful. And it was a lot of, you are not bipolar, and me being like, okay, but you are not my therapist, and you don't have a degree in psychology. But, you know, that was also interesting because I had a lot of internalized stigma about that particular diagnosis, and I thought it meant I would be doomed forever to a life of horrible unhappiness, and that's not true. Oh, it's really not. It's very manageable. Any kind of mental illness, it can be managed like a physical illness. You just have to know that you have it. You have to be aware of what you need, of your own limitations, of how the illness works, but also how it manifests itself in you, because bodies don't read the textbook. So regardless of what kind of illness you have, physical, mental, whatever, sometimes there are going to be little quirks in the ways in which it affects you, and you have to be able to ask for help when you need it and to accept it when people reach out to you, because that was a hard thing to do. And I tried for a very long time to avoid getting help, which made life difficult. But so other than particularly successful adults talk about their experiences with mental illness, and to see that these things haven't ruined their lives or doomed them to eternal pain and suffering, that this is manageable, that, you know, with support and just a proper awareness of yourself and others, you can live a perfectly interesting, happy, crazy, creative life, whatever you want. Whatever your values are, nothing is really out of reach. Although it is frustrating because there is a huge level of stigma. I mean, I used to want to serve in the Peace Corps. That was a dream that got me through high school, because in high school I wasn't getting any kind of institutional help. And I could barely get up in the mornings, and I told myself, you know, I have this lofty goal, this thing that's really important to me. And I knew it was really competitive and that I needed good grades, so I would go to school. I would make sure that I got up in the morning because I needed that specific reason to get me out of bed. And ironically, around the time of like that celebration that Dickinson has, the Stomp Out Stigma, the Day Against Stigma, last year I found out that even if I had just been diagnosed with depression, I would not be serving in the Peace Corps. That's very, very unlikely to happen. So even though I feel like my experiences with mental illness have made me a much stronger person, have made me much more aware of my own limitations, my own personality quirks, the ins and outs of how I work, I will never be able to serve in the Peace Corps. I will never be able to go and teach. I could go and teach in another country, actually. That's not true. I can do very similar things and just find different routes through which to do it, and that's very likely what I'll do. But this one organization that I kind of idolized for a period of time in my life, however reasonably or unreasonably, it's a very hard place to work, to get a job, if you have experienced mental illnesses. I mean, I did some research, and I was seeing stories of people who saw therapists in middle school and were on anxiety medication, and they had to go through hearings because they were originally not offered jobs on the basis of, oh, you're not going to be able to handle this. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see this in institutions and also in little things, how people react to each other. But it's also really exciting to see things like Next to Normal coming to Dickinson, which I don't know too much about the show, but from what I understand, it humanizes. It puts a human face on mental illnesses. Mental illnesses aren't people, though they're illnesses that affect people. So it's important to remember that, and also to remember and just be aware of mental illnesses are a family matter sometimes. They have huge impacts on families, and families have huge impacts on people with mental illness. I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for my family. We don't always get along, and there have been certainly issues with how some things have been reacted to, but I'm really lucky that I have a family that ultimately cares and supports about me. Other people don't have that, and it's terrible. So for people, I think, to see that, and there's a whole other side to mental illness. It's not just about the people with the mental illnesses. It's the people who love people with mental illnesses.